Let's get to the latest out of Buffalo. The FBI and local law enforcement continue to investigate the gunman who killed 10 people there over the weekend. The president and first lady made a somber trip to the grief-stricken community yesterday and called on Americans to condemn racial hatred. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa has more from Buffalo.
President Biden condemning hate in Buffalo.
White supremacy is a poison, and it's been allowed to fester and grow right in front of our eyes.
With the First Lady by his side, the president visited a memorial near the grocery store where 10 people were killed in what he called a racist rampage. President Biden emotional while reading the names of each victim.
Leandra McNeil, 53, worked at a restaurant, went to buy his 3-year-old son a birthday cake. His son's selling a birthday. Ask him, where's daddy?
This morning, investigators combing through the 18-year-old suspect's extensive internet history, including a 180-page manifesto referencing other mass shooters and a series of online rants reviewed by NBC News on the chat forum Discord, which appeared to be written by the gunman. In those rants, he describes mapping out the store's aisles ahead of the attack and also indicates that he considered a school and churches as additional targets because he thought they would have large numbers of black people. A year ago, the Buffalo shooting suspect underwent a mental health evaluation after he allegedly made disturbing comments regarding murder and suicide at his high school. The district attorney in Broome County now saying school officials and the police followed the procedures and protocols that were in place at that time. President Biden also called for stricter gun control laws. While some in Buffalo are skeptical that change will come, others, like Wayne Jones, who lost his mother, reassured by the president's presence. Was there anything that the president said that really resonated with you?
I see you got a lot of family, Wayne. It's going to make you make it through this. Your family. So just hold on tight to your family.
Emily Aketa reporting from Buffalo this morning. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Anthony Brown of Maryland. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee and a combat veteran, retired colonel in the United States Army Reserve. Congressman, good morning. We appreciate you being on this morning. You've introduced legislation before the attack in Buffalo, actually, to raise the age to buy a semi-automatic rifle from 18 to 21. 18 is the age in this country. You have to be 21 to buy a handgun. First of all, let's start with the existing law. Why is there a difference in the ages between a handgun and a semi-automatic rifle?
First of all, Willie, thanks for having me on. I don't know why there's a difference, but if you're going to buy a handgun from a federally registered dealer, you have to be 21. But that's not the case for a semi-automatic assault weapon. Now, some states like Maryland do have that restriction. California has it. It's being challenged in the court. I offered that bill. It was bipartisan to raise the age to 21. But let me be clear. That's a half measure. What we really need is to reinstate the federal ban on semi-automatic assault weapons. That happened in the 1990s. It was in the aftermath of a series of mass shootings in California. If Congress could do it then, Congress needs to do that today, particularly given the number of mass shootings we have seen, and Buffalo being the most recent and most tragic.
Yeah, the shooter in Buffalo, the alleged shooter who killed 10 people buying groceries in a retired Buffalo police officer inside a supermarket, legally purchased at 18 years of age, walked in, got an instant background check, a Bushmaster XM15 semi-automatic rifle. You say it's bipartisan legislation. Why has it been so difficult to lift the age, as you say, just to get it up 3 years, not to outright ban these kind of weapons?
Look, what we see happen time and again in Congress is the House is often able to pass some meaningful gun safety regulations. We passed universal background check. We passed the red flag law last year in the Defense Authorization Act. It goes to the Senate. It comes back stripped out, and we're unable to get it done. So what I'm calling for, let's use the National Defense Authorization Act. That's a must-pass act that ensures the safety of our nation. And in that bill, we should have red flag laws. We should have universal background check, and we should certainly have raised the age, if not an altogether ban on assault weapons, in the Defense Authorization Act. It's used to protect us overseas. The act should be used to protect us here at home.
Good morning, Congressman Brown. This is Eddie Glaude. You are addressing the assault ban, the assault weapons side of the question. What about the white supremacy side of the question? What can we do legislatively to address these white domestic terrorist groups in the country?
Sure. And while I don't think you can legislate morality or ideology, there's certainly things that we can do to limit the ability of those people with a distorted view on this country and who we are as a people in taking the actions that they do. I introduced a measure in the Defense Authorization Act to require the Department of Defense to identify and eliminate from the military those who are members of extremist groups. Again, it made it out of the House. It failed in the Senate. We need to reintroduce that and make sure that in the military, you cannot be a member of an extremist group, because what happens is they gain experience with small arms, with other weapons, with explosives, and just with the discipline of a paramilitary organization, and then they use that in their extremist organizations to do harm throughout communities in our country. So we can do that for starters, make sure that they can't join, and if they're identified, they're removed from the military. But we also need to have a federal standard, or at least incentives for states to adopt protocols and procedures to at least monitor and observe the existence of extremism, particularly in our schools. Now, I'm not suggesting you're going to kick a child out of school because they may seem to have a proclivity or interest in an extremist group, but you can certainly bring greater resources for that young person so that they're not radicalized, they're not indoctrinized, and that they eventually will not act out on those white supremacist, white nationalism, white and other extremist activity.
Democratic Congressman Anthony Brown of Maryland. The legislation on the guns is the Raise the Age Act, introduced last year to raise the age to purchase a semi-automatic rifle in this country from 18 to 21. We will check back in with you on the progress of that, Congressman. Thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.